we start the debate, can you please send in your speaker positions through the chat, please? Thank you. Okay, so let's begin the debate. Don't forget to mention your preferred POI methods before you start. And without further ado, to open this debate, let's welcome the Prime Minister here.
Thank you. Can I have a moment to arrange my paper?
Are we timing? Okay.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, as the government side of the House, we believe that human beings have a moral responsibility to preserve the ecology of the Earth, even at our own survival expenses. We think in the status quo, human life history has demanded a lot of sacrifices to the human nature, right? We think a lot of environmental damage has been done by human beings. We think a lot of ecological problem has been done by human being. For example, let's say animal extinction, habitat loss, polluting ocean, and etc. We think that we has already we already demand a lot to the nature without giving the equal without giving back the equal without giving back the equal treatment to the nature, right? So we think that those problems are the proofs why that human seems very egoist very egoistic in the status quo. So that's why we think that it is why human beings have a moral responsibility to preserve the ecology of Earth, even as our own survival expenses itself. We think it's time for us to give back to give back to our a better effort to preserve ecology rather than the status quo. We think that what we found in the status quo, that we think that the status quo is very problematic because the solution that has been provided in combating climate change, for example, is not working because those are just half stances mechanism. Why? Even if human is the why we say that it is a half stance mechanism, because of for example, in Paris Agreement, when we want to preserve the ecological of Earth, for example, but we still consider the sustainable economy, that we at the same time we still give carbon emission to the atmosphere. So we think that it is a total half stance mechanism at the day. So that's why we think that we want to improve that we think that human have a bigger moral responsibility to preserve the ecology at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Even if human is demanded to give them survival expenses, for example, when we are demanded to reduce carbon emission by stopping industrial production, for example, by closing a lot of industrial production, for example. We think that we need to do that because of we think that that's what form of survival expenses means, right? For example, notice even if but what you need to underline is notice even if we are going to lose a lot, but we already have backup mechanism, right? In the status quo, we're still going to survive at the end of the day because of the existence of the existence of green technology, for example. We think that it is we think that this is going to be better trigger for human being in order to develop further green technology, even under this under the government side of the house. Therefore, we think that our stance as the government side of the house is clear, that we believe humans have moral responsibility to preserve ecology, even if it requires our survival expenses. Several arguments. Several ideas. The first one, why I'm going to talk about why is it justified within our moral responsibility, and second of all, how our life will look like at the end in how our life will look like. Second and the last one, why it is urgent. First one, why is it justified? Why is it justified within our moral responsibility? We think that the first reason, we already take a lot from the ecology, right? We take food, clothes, and other form of necessities, and at the same time giving bad impact to the environment. For example, we take animals' right to have colony. For example, take too much from them. Let's say we are not giving them the equal position, just like human being enjoying our own life, right? So we think that we need to give all creatures have the same position as the same position like what we are enjoying right now. So we think that that's why as human being we are having a big moral responsibility to preserve the ecology. A second idea, we think that how our life will look like at the end of the day. We will sacrifice we know that we will sacrifice more than what we already sacrificed in the status quo, right? We're asking we're taking a bigger risk in order to preserve back, right? So we think that even if that the opposition might argue that the idea of supply chain distribution or industry will be disrupted, and we might lose our we might lose our comfort in having life in the status quo, right? For example, but that doesn't mean that we will not eat. We will still take supply from nature, for example, but based on necessities. Because what happened in the status quo, we are taking more than we need. The proof is that we are having too much obesity people, for example. We think that that's kind of we think that that's practical proof that we are already take a lot from nature. And also and also we will survive. And second thing is that we will survive because of, we think that the reason why human beings able to survive is because of we are able to make our earth survive. So that's why we think that for further life, for example, it is in our own responsibility to extend the life of the earth itself, right, ladies and gentlemen? So that's why we think that the idea of human nature that is very greedy, we need to sacrifice that in the current status quo in order to preserve our own ecology. Why we think that it is urgent? Because in the status quo, we think that the current effort is not working, because we say that it is a half stance, for example, like Paris Agreement and something like that, that providing that wants to preserve nature, but at the same time allowing carbon emissions productions. We think that we want to cut that into the minimum. For example, we only want to allow the industry in order to at least provide what do we need. We think that it is still okay for us to take the supply from the nature based on only what we need, right? So we think that that's how at the end of the day we are going to survive. But notice that what will happen under our side is that we want to have a better survival of the earth. We are going to extend life and faster recovery of the earth itself, ladies and gentlemen. However, in comparative, we think that the prediction has already so minimized. So that's why we think that it is in our own
Thank you for the Prime Minister for the amazing speech. To continue this debate, let's welcome Leader of Opposition here.
Hello, I'm audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
But
wait a
it's a
minute.
bit bandangung.
Oh, okay. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. Set up a timer first. For my PR preference, I would like to go through chat so my speech won't be disturbed, and also for my general pronouns he or him.
I'm sorry, Ron, you have so much noise. Suaranya itu agak berantakan gitu loh.
Wait. Sorry about that. Hello? Check.
Yeah, okay, I think you can go.
Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, as the leader of the opposition side of the House, we are denying the motion that this was believed that human beings have a moral responsibility to preserve the ecology of Earth, even at the expense of their responsibility. So, first things first, panels, please notice that in this debate, we should be talking about what's best for the human when they are preserving the ecological of Earth. So, under opposition, we are going to still preserving the Earth, but considering the fate and also the sake of human being itself. So, first thing first, let me give some rebuttals throughout the Prime Minister's statements and also arguments. First of all, the Prime Minister mentioned about we have used the ecology and expands this ecology, but didn't give any balance to our Earth. Didn't give any balance didn't give any balance opportunity, just like when we use this ecology. We are being selfish by using this ecology of Earth, and even if that humans have already trying to preserve the ecology of Earth, but it is not enough and keep harming the ecology. So, first response, we do believe that it is true that when we use this ecology, we are indirectly harming the ecology itself. But under opposition, we're gonna give you the best solution, a win-win solution, when we are trying to preserving this ecology and also considering the human fate. So, but under opposition, we say that we could be better at preserving it than suddenly stating that we need to express our survivability. And also, the Prime Minister mentioned about us need to balance the equality of all beings, that we need to take action, that we need to protect animals and also environment. Under opposition, we need to tell you that there are rules, regulations, and also laws that have been initiated to protect these other beings, to such as animal hunting limitation and also protection of forests and etc. So we do believe that ideas coming from the Prime Minister is not able to be standing in this debate. And he also stating about us destroying the ecology, and also we need to notice that we are being selfish to use this ecology without giving any contribution to the ecology itself. But you have to notice that us as humans, we are here under oppositions. We're trying to say that we are still going to preserve this ecology of Earth, but also considering the survivability of human itself, and not not just suddenly expands our survivability and our existence, because uh, and also considering that humans is and humans is also the highest position in pyramid of life. We are naturally has been given this ecology to use, that we will be able to keep our life going on. So that's why we do believe that we need to still struggling to gain our own survivability. But the Prime Minister didn't even mention about us being what the situation of survivability, where what things that we do to keep survive, that that the Prime Minister only mentioned that we use this ecology too much and being selfish. But here we need to be realistic, and also we need to find the best solutions of this. We say that if it's about what we need to do to stay alive, like using materials from the environment to build our houses or hunting animals for our food supply, is it is it justified for humans to do? Under opposition, we say yes, because we do believe that the ecology of Earth is humans' privilege in the first place and human rights. So basically, this ecology is provided for humans to use. The problem is that how we are using it. If we say that ecology is ours to use, but not forgetting that under opposition, we as humans beings still need to preserve the ecology of Earth, because we notice that human beings like us have the moral responsibilities, right? So, what is our urgency is to be? We should opposition. We do believe that we do believe that urgent is that even if this ecology is ours, that the use of this ecology is to sustain humans' life. Without it, human may not be able to maintain their existence. But what we see as an extreme statement coming from the government is that we need to preserve the ecology. We need to preserve the ecology of the earth, even if we need to expand our survivability. But also, the prime minister have stated a contradiction statement where he stated that we need to that we are still allowing to use this ecology based on our necessity. That is a contradiction between that statement of yours and also your stance, which is to expand your capability to preserve uh, the, the existence of ecology of the earth itself. So we do believe that it is urgent for us to not do this extreme statement coming from the government, which is to expand humans' life to preserve the ecology of Earth. Even if we need to expand our own survivability, this is an over glorifying idea that violates human being itself. So that's why under opposition, we are going to inform to you that we are still going to preserve the ecology of Earth, but also considering the sake of our own too. So what is our mechanism here? Under opposition, we do notice that and also admit that when human using these natural resources, we are indirectly destroying the ecology of Earth. But as I stated to you, that under opposition, we're still allowing that human beings to use this ecology of Earth to sustain their life, but also remembering that they're going to preserve it too. Here, we're still going to use the resources that we take from the environment, but also going to provide actions of preserve of the ecology of Earth as well, such as there will be laws and more strict regulations about doing reboisations, limiting the usage of ecology, and etc. So we do believe that by our mechanism, we are creating a win-win situation where human being will survive and the ecology of Earth will be preserved. Then the government that brings up the idea that over glorifying statement that we need to expand our uh, our existence to save the ecology of Earth, to save the ecology of Earth. So here we need to notice that there are two main ideas that we still need to use this ecology of Earth, but we still need to preserve it. That human, of course, without any basic knowledge, we of course going to sustain our life. And second of all, human's freedom itself, considering that government is indirectly limiting a human's life if you are expensing your life for the sake of this ecology of Earth. I'm proudly to open the opposition case.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for your speech. To continue this debate, let's welcome the Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
Gue habis makan lo ya.
Check, am I audible?
Can you speak louder, please? It's not really audible.
Am I audible?
Yeah, good.
Clear ya? So, I'm going to wait. Sorry, I need to tap on my paper. So, PI preference, just unmute yourself.
Can you come closer to the microphone?
Check.
Now better.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. All right, panels. What we want as the owner of the house is that we are going to prove you why it is moral for us to do everything to go to the fullest in order to preserve our ecology of Earth be better, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm going to prove to you. The second one is that I'm going to prove you why then sacrificing ourselves is the only options and why it is also justified for human being to be suffering in the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. But before that, I need to discuss several things coming from opposition side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. Under oppositions, they will never create any progress on how they are going to preserve the ecology of Earth, ladies and gentlemen, because we have discussed a lot of things in many decades about the way we preserve this Earth, but it's never be worked. The solutions will never be there, ladies and gentlemen. Talking about how they mentions about we have rules, for example, to protect the animal hunting, we limit them, for example, but how, for example, humans still exploring the oceans too much, ladies and gentlemen, take too much fish when take too much fish in the oceans and it becomes limit, ladies and gentlemen. Note, for example, how if these rules have worked, if all of these regulations works at the very first place, you have to notice that the Sumatera's tiger will not be in danger nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. Orang utan will not be in danger, right? Thousands of all species will not be extinct in this modern era if all of these rules are followed or obeyed by the human being itself. But unfortunately, not. Humans are greedy. They only are selfish creators nowadays, and they only think about their own shake, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what we don't want in this place as in this debate as the side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. Second layer, second argument. The opposite side of the house believe that all the creatures in this world are belong to us. Human beings have the fully right to maximize or to obtain all of these creatures, ladies and gentlemen. But the problem is how we use the creatures itself for our sake. Yes, exactly. That's the problem. We don't use all the creatures, all the things, all the resources in this world properly, wisely. Yes, exactly. We are too greedy. We think only for our sake. We waste our food and so on, ladies and gentlemen. That's why every resources in this world become limit because of that greedy things, ladies and gentlemen. Greedy behavior of human, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, move to my argument. Why it's moral for us to do so, ladies and gentlemen. We will say that as human being, we have been so greedy since the beginning of this story, ladies and gentlemen. Since this modern, since the industrialized worlds began, ladies and gentlemen. We never feel enough and satisfied with what we have, ladies and gentlemen. We always want more of everything. Even, for example, we don't enough with one wife or girlfriend, for example. That's how greedy we are, ladies. We explore the ocean, we capture all the animals in the forest and so on, ladies and gentlemen, until it's become limit and extinct, ladies and gentlemen. We burn down the forest, we build the industries to fulfill our needs, even it's damaging the earth and all the creatures within, ladies and gentlemen. As human beings, we have been so selfish and greedy all the time, thinking that all of these creatures are belong to us and capture it, use it improperly and unwisely, ladies and gentlemen. I mean that if we have a look back into the zaman datu or zaman purba, uh, zaman purba, people already live properly, right? We don't even need to explore all the resources. They are live very properly in balance, ladies and gentlemen. The earth is producing enough food and animals for mankind, ladies and gentlemen. But what is the biggest problem nowadays is we are too greedy. We explore all the resources, even we don't need it just to fulfill our desire, ladies and gentlemen. How, for example, you have to look how we waste the food in party, for example, just throwing food when you don't eat it, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we call as greedy behavior of human being, ladies and gentlemen. And it seems we believe that it's so hard for this earth to be survive or recover if we let this selfish and greedy behavior still exist within the human being itself, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe that the only way to preserve our Earth and make it better place is by taking no excuse at all in striving to preserve it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, so we are going to sacrifice, ladies and gentlemen. So that's our stance. I think it's very clear. So we will argue, ladies and gentlemen, that the actions we have done nowadays is not enough, ladies and gentlemen. It shows no commitment. That's what like Jagat said to you, and it seems discussion will be only discussions and having no solution, ladies and gentlemen. Also, we will take the bullets. Yes, no excuse at all. So I'm going to prove you. I'm going to contextualize what will be happen under our set of the house when we sacrifice to the fullest, ladies and gentlemen. What will happen when we go to the fullest effort to preserve the earth is that the earth will recover soon. That's our goal, ladies and gentlemen. People, let's contextualize it. People will no longer spend food wastely, ladies and gentlemen. We are not going to let them spend food wastely, ladies and gentlemen, for party, for example, or for having a game show in YouTube just for content, just throwing food, for example, and so on, ladies and gentlemen. Also, what will happen when we limit the human being from wasting our food is that the producing of food will be less. So in the industries will having less of work, then the less emissions will be there, ladies and gentlemen, in order to support the cutting of emission gas, etc., ladies and gentlemen. Also, all things that we are going to do is that we are going to limit all the greedy behavior of human being. There will be the less of traveling for human beings, ladies and gentlemen, just because we know that somehow you don't need exactly this kind of traveling, because maybe in nowadays you just simply need it for Instagram picture and so on, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why you travel a lot. Transportations go circling this world and create emissions, and that's exactly what we don't want, ladies and gentlemen. How about idea of suffering, ladies and gentlemen? How about idea of people will starving? Hey, wake up, come on. Most of people in Africa already in starvation in century, right? We don't. Millions of people are dying of it, ladies and gentlemen. And also the rest of people in this world has been suffering from colonizations in the past, ladies and gentlemen. Idea of suffering is no sense, ladies and gentlemen. We want all the human beings commit, and even they have to sacrifice. We have to sacrifice. All the human beings have to sacrifice, unite, and make our world be better again. Thank you.
Thank you, DPM, for the speech. To continue this debate, let's welcome Deputy Leader of Opposition here.
Wait a second. Am I clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. We think that preserving the ecology of Earth is the moral responsibility of every human being. Because if we are not preserving it, then we will waste such resources to support human lives. But an idea of moral responsibility is justifiable to be broke when it comes to a certain Earth situations of human beings where it put them in situations between death or survive. And in this point, consuming the earth ecology is justifiable to do for the sake of the survival, and human doesn't need to expend themselves that much. Before I continue to my point, several responses. Firstly, they are stating about how that preserving right now is only half stance, but in our side, but we think that preserving is not just about emission carbon, and it's not only about Paris Agreement that they stated before, but earth ecology are consists of water, nature, environment, animal, and etc. If we are just talking about air, understand how progressive is actually the progress made by government and society, which is a human being. And even there are so many actions taken by human beings, like creating eco-friendly industry, eco-friendly procedure, reboisations, and so on and so forth. So I think that human being is actually play an important role in order to preserving the ecological of Earth itself. And also, second of all, They stated about that this won't create progress in preserving Earth. What is happening right now is won't create progress in preserving Earth ecology. But we think that this is actually nonsense, because notice that they already mentioned Paris Agreement, and there is bottle filtrations and technology, and how this is contradictory to them, that they say that they want to preserve, but they don't have any clear explanations about how the way they want to preserve the earth itself, while the human is suffering. And also they question about how can we improve if not preserving, and because we don't take enough action. But we would like to respond that, to ask you back about, in your side, how can you guarantee that the ecology preservation will be improved if we don't have human? Our human are weak because they are not allowed to consume the ecology at the end of the day. We think that there is such a suicide actions from the government actions. And isn't human being existence is to preserve the ecology itself? And if the action is not enough, then sacrificing life to preserve ecology isn't a suitable actions, because there are still another actions to be taken of from the government side of the house. Now moving to my argument, I will bring 2 points on what will happening, which is a human extinction will exist, and second of all will lead to extreme environment. Firstly, what will happen if human keep preserving in their survival life? Human being will be extinct. We think that preserving human being as the important actor toward the environment is better when it comes to danger situations, since the one who take care of the earth ecology are the human beings itself. Understand that earth ecology is the only source of human life, where their supply needs fulfilled by the environment. Propositions make concerns about the ecological damage that will happen. But hey, when we keep preserving the environment, when even at the point of our death, then imagine when all human beings die. Imagine when the human beings are extinct. And who will preserve the earth? Human beings and earth ecology are having such a mutualism symbiosis, where human preserve the earth provides resources to human, and second layer of and human preserve the earth, and earth provides resources to human to live. And also second layer of analysis, what will happen after that? There will be an unbalanced situations when an extreme environmental condition will happen. There will be an extreme amount of animal, which leads to damaging humans being state and house and harming the human directly. Another example is an over availability of water resources that could drown the human life, and so on and so forth. And that is why when it comes to the situations when we are urged to survive, it is okay to actually using that resources that the earth provide. Notice that in ecological pyramid, humans are also placed in the highest positions of the pyramid, means that their influence towards the ecology is huge enough. Second of all, how this will lead to extreme environment. It is the human if the human beings should expand themselves in order to preserve the earth ecology, this means that we are putting a limitations toward the life of the human, because no matter how struggle they are to survive, government side of the house wants us to keep preserving the ecology. That means our lifetime will be limited, while we believe that there is no other alternative to replace the earth ecology itself. So notice on that we have a different types of society. For example, like notice how harmful these actions towards the vegan community, for instance, and so on and so forth. And also in a large scale of environment and a modern era, if we are not consuming ecology to survive, human being will get no economical circle, human being will not be able to fulfill their primary needs, human will not be able to live. Because notice on because besides of fulfilling moral responsibility, the first thing we should prioritize is our right is human beings' life to live. For example, like they are mentioned about industrial thing and etc. But notice how these industrial things brings life to the human being itself, where they brings more salary to the human beings, where they giving as a supply chains to the human being itself. And if it's not run better, then how can human beings live if we are not using the ecology to run the business and to eat and to hunt and etc. or to build house. So that is why we think outside of the house we will still running our moral responsibility to preserve the ecology of the earth, but we won't expense our own survival in order to preserve it. Because in the progressive right now, society is also progressive. We already do so many actions to preserve the earth, like some agreement, like the real actions such as no plastic waste, or like creating using technologies to preserve the environment itself. So that is why we think that the ecologists and human have get win-win benefits in order to this. So that is why, from the lack of clear explanations from the government side of the house, we think that in our side we are stands on our points, which is why I'm proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, DLO, for your speech. To continue this debate, let's welcome Government Whip. Here, here.
Hello. Well, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. First, respond and rebuttal for the opposition team. First, opposition teams say that there is a solution they conducting it, such as there is laws and rule, and there is a regularization and create a green technology, and etc. And they said that the society and government is progressive enough. But ladies and gentlemen, first about the rules. Rules, it's easy to break by human. There is no effective punishment we find in our status quo, ladies and gentlemen. It's very easy to manipulate. It's not working at all. So that is why, ladies and gentlemen, we need the clear rules and the bigger changes for our earth, ladies and gentlemen. Idea of urbanization and green technology made by society and the government, I believe it's not be working also. Why I say that? Because even you do the urbanization or create the green technology, but you're still running the industry with the produce the gas emission itself, it will be not the solution, ladies and gentlemen. So it is the time for you to stop or limit the production of the production of gas emission itself, and the regularization and green technology will be maximized program, ladies and gentlemen. So as well, ladies and gentlemen, in our proposal, the idea of regularization and green technology will be easier to achieve. And ladies and gentlemen, I believe the opposition team only afraid to have a big to create a big change. Why I say that? Because they only stuck in our condition. They want to reduce a number of global warming. They only do campaign, and without the stop the main source of the problem itself. And my first speaker and second speaker has told you that what the main source of the problem itself, and I will more clarify in my next argument. And they ask us about the what mean of the survive itself. Survive mean it's such as we are only supply amount of food equal for society, ladies and gentlemen. It's only fulfill one day of their life. We not allow people stock and stop for a month or a years, because it make the demand of people be consumerism, right? So that is why the production of the production of the food or the clothes it's higher, and why the production of gas emission from the industry more increase, because the demand of society of the stock itself, ladies and gentlemen. So that is why we want to make society feel that it is the stock you need at the time, so you need to use it useful. And next, they said about the it's kind of suicide action we made. But ladies and gentlemen, the condition of the climate change is suicidal also. Why I say that? Because when you are fail and only survive with the climate change itself, it only make you die at the end of the day, right? So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we don't want to wait our earth to be die with the climate change itself. So we need to survive. We need to survive and even sacrifice ourselves to help our earth, ladies and gentlemen. And the justification I will clarify in my next argument. And also, they say about that it is the win-win solution because it because it can create the economic sustainability. But ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we don't want to focus about the economic sustainability, but in our status quo, it's very important for us to focus to save our environment, ladies and gentlemen. Economic sustainability will be built again if our earth and we have enough natural research so it can be run well at the end of the day. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, let's we fix our earth first. And so go to my argument. I will give you illustration. Since I was child, my parents always give what I want without any consideration to buy my meals, my clothes, or to payment about my education. But when I grow up, my parents are sick and they cannot fulfill my needs anymore, and they are suffering in their condition, ladies and gentlemen. But I aware I'm uh, I'm adult now. I have money for them go to hospital. Even I need that money to buy handphone or car. But I will sacrifice it for the life of my parents. Because before they sacrifice a lot for my life too, ladies and gentlemen. That's what our earth right now. Right now, in the condition of sick, survive. But we still force them to give us food, fresh air, and water. Then we are forget we made our earth in the condition, ladies and gentlemen. In that condition, ladies and gentlemen, we don't care about. We not to care about our earth, ladies and gentlemen. We never stop to do that or force them to fulfill our necessity until we see the condition our earth is not healthy anymore. So it is our time now as human beings to give more contribution for our earth to make it healthy to the good condition even we are survive for ourselves. Because I believe our earth it's more survive in for years, ladies and gentlemen, for years, ladies and gentlemen. And my first speaker has told you that why the status quo right now, why the status quo right now when the demand survival of human being is the main problem. When the problem is the human still to be consumerism, even they don't really need a thing. They only follow the trends, ladies and gentlemen, to supply a product. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, why the industry more increase, why the new industry more increase and in the huge amounts because the demand of society itself. But now let's we as humans think that forget our ego and now give the thing about our environment first because we get our environment with the healthy condition we can live, ladies and gentlemen, and our environment can be healthy if there is no action for us. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, as the government team we believe it is time for human beings have a moral responsibility to preserve the ecology of earth even at the expense of their own survival itself. So I'm back to purpose this motion. Udah deh.
Thank you, Government Whip, for your speech. To continue this debate, let's welcome Opposition Whip. Here.
Wait a moment, please. I want to set up my timer. So hello, am I audible?
Can you speak closer to the mic, please?
Test is
Yeah,
it.
it's clear.
Okay, so gender pronouns he or him, and your preference just unmute yourself. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So I think in this debate we should be talking that is it justified for us as a human being to like expand to preserve the ecology of Earth even at the expense of their own survival. So basically government's main idea is about it's justified for human to preserve the ecology of Earth even at the expense of their own survival because the nature of human are greedy and etc. So before moving on to my comparisons, first in the independent rebuttals. Okay, so first they talked about the nature of human, which is greedy, right? So notice panel that the idea of greedy is arbitrary. Notice panel that what do I mean by this? Is not literally all layers of our society will feel like greedy and waste all of the natural resources in our earth, right? So like not literally all humans being that exist in our world will randomly throwing away their food, not will literally throwing or wasting their food stock, their water supply in their house. So the idea of greedy is not exclusive anymore under the head of the house. So I found two classes in this debate. First is about the justification. Second is about the current environment that exists, like this, like what happening in our current status quo. So first about the justification. So government came out with the idea. So because the environmental has been done, the environmental problem has been seriously damaged by humans and etc. So therefore, we have the moral responsibility to preserve the ecology of Earth. Yes, we acknowledge that every human has the moral responsibility to preserve the ecology of Earth. But let's play in their point of view, right? Let's play in their scenario where humans will preserve the ecology of Earth, even in their even if in their survival, like they need to sacrifice themselves, right? So we do believe under opposition, it is not rational to do this such of thing. Notice panel, if humans are sacrificing themselves as what government has stated, then if like that, so then who will be the next earth preserver, like who will protect the earth and etc. Under opposition, we don't want a human to sacrifice their survivability, even if that government saying that they will limit they will limit their based on their necessity, and but still panel, it will still destroying
On
the
that
natural
point,
resources, because in the first place they are taking and still destroying the natural resources, no matter how limited you are, ladies and gentlemen. But even if that they will fully sacrifice, it won't be a rational solution. Why? Because notice when you fully sacrifice yourself, like what they have stated to us, then who are going to continue and undergo their moral responsibility to preserve the earth, ladies and gentlemen? When in the first place they're willing to die, and they're willing to sacrifice themselves, then who are going to preserve the ecology of Earth itself, ladies and gentlemen? And notice that they are very inconsistent in this debate also. Like the first speaker stated that they want to limit the natural resources based on their necessity, and then suddenly their second speaker want to fully sacrifice the life of human to preserve the ecology of Earth. So we don't see any clear stand on this on government side of the house. That's why they need to be kicked out in this debate. So moving on to my second class, which is the status quo, like what is happening in our current environment. So government believe that the current status quo is not progressive, like there are some organizations like Paris Agreement and Reboisation, but they stated to us that that is not enough for them. Three response on this. First, even if that the rules or the current organization are not enough, at least we gave them punishment, right? And we have a clear mechanism comparatively in their side of the house, they will literally sacrifice themselves for ecology, ladies and gentlemen. But why is it bad though? Because comparing our side and them, if we still considering human survival, then we can improve the rules tighter and harder. So in the end of the day, it will be followed by our society. Rather, in the side of the house, they will instantly die because they will instantly sacrifice themselves just to preserve the ecology of Earth, ladies and gentlemen. It is not rational decision. And third response, we do believe that the status quo is progressive enough. If government stating that, the status quo is not progressive, then Paris Agreement won't be exist. It won't be created. Then WFF and something like that won't be created by the government. Then Starbucks won't implement the Cardos, Pipet, and something like that. That shows to you that the status quo is progressive enough. So therefore, we do believe that we will still champion this idea, ladies and gentlemen. So, so what I'm trying to say to you is because there's a climate change that exists, our people concerned about those issues itself. So in order for government team to win this debate, they need to prove to us some of their BOPs, which are about first, how suddenly if we expand our life, that the ecology will be better. Like how suddenly if you're sacrificing your life, then ecology will be better. Second, they didn't even mention and define what kind of form that they meant by expense our life. Are we going to do suicide or what? Are you willingly to kill yourself just to preserve the ecology of Earth? Very like mechanization in the house, and so we believe that it's not valid anymore. And third of all is the two solutions before that have been tackled down by our side of the house, and there's no like any engagement or any other alternative coming from the government. Like those two inconsistent stance from a government side of the house. So in the first place, they are already failed to answer those BOP. And we do believe that government are not going to win this debate. So comparatively panels under our side of the house, we still are going to give humans, we are still going to let humans preserve the ecology of Earth without necessarily in expense of their own survival. I'm so proud to oppose.
Thank you, Opposition Whip, for your speech. To summarize this debate, let's welcome Opposition reply. Here.
Oh, wait. Okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So I think we both team agree that we want to preserving Earth's ecology for the sake of the humans live, which is our moral responsibility as a human being. But what is being asked in this debate is that whether we have to expand our life of survival in order to preserve Earth ecology or not. And what is being questioned to win this debate is that the first, that which team can picturize the urgency of their stance situations of the moral responsibility, ecology, and survival, and which team having a better explanation in order to stand in the debate. Firstly, let's take it on side-by-side analysis of both sides of the house. In the side government, there are lack of picturizations because they have already failed in picturizing why even at the expense of human survival, we should preserve the ecology of the earth. And they only stated about how the picturizing of the bad environment situations, how the current situation didn't have enough actions and progress, and how their actions to save the earth itself. But they don't really explain to us other mechanism or alternative if we are on the edge of our survival, but we are not able to consume our ecology, because how suddenly if we because they don't already explain how suddenly if we expand our life that the ecology will be better, and they don't even mention and define what kind of expense life expense that is meant by these motions, which we as the opposition already explained to, that is the moment where everything is urged is an urgent situations. And also, second of all, their point is running around in circle, where they only stating about how to preserving environment in order for the long-term life of human, and how we want to preserve environment itself, and so on and so forth. But we think that it is not exclusive enough, and we have tackled it down by our previous argument. Now, why we think that the opposition win this debate? Firstly, on picturizations, we already explained to you that we don't need to expand in the name of moral responsibility to preserve Earth, because we want to prioritize our rights to live, and that moral responsibility is actually justifiable to be broken to uphold our lives. Because notice on how society in status quo is already progressive and aware towards our environment. Notice on how progressive society towards the environmental issue. Notice on how many actions they have taken, like agreement or eco-friendly system, and etc. And notice that how big is the impact of this thing if we are using the government mechanism. And second of all, we already explained to you how the future impact if we are doing this sacrifice for the preserve of the nature. We already explained to you that there will be a human extinction, which leads to unbalanced situations, since the ecology is the main resources of human life and distribution of economy and etc. And there will be no one to take care of the earth and to preserving the earth, because all human will die or will extinct, and all human won't have enough strength to preserve the earth itself. Well, there are no clear alternative to replace this ecology itself. And also, in a large scale, we already explained to you on how if we are not using ecology to survive, human will not get better economical circles, human will not able to fulfill their primary needs, and etc. And we already explained to you that it is better to improve our actions to save ecology than suddenly sacrificing ourselves, because if they should be provide another alternative on on what actions that we have to do in order to expand our life. And that is why there's also no clear alternative solutions and lack of engagement towards our case from the government side of the house. And that is from that point we think that in this debate we think that opposition still stands in this in the motions. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition reply, for your speech. To close this debate, let's welcome government reply here.
Am I audible? Okay, can I?
Yes, sir.
Timer, Mom. Oh, udah, thank you. All right. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, as the reply speaker, we think that in the government side of the house, we already argued to you how that in the status quo, we are not having the solution that is going to create better output at the end of the day. We think that the existence of the proposed when opposition argue that they are supporting the status quo, we think that it is actually not going to preserve the earth, right? We think that they are just doing the half stance, because of at the same time they are torturing the earth itself, ladies and gentlemen. We think that at the same time they are doing that, so that's why their solutions at the same time is not going to work. Why? Because of, even if we are going to assume the best solution from the best output from their solution, we think that it is going to be stagnant. Why? Because of we already argued to you how that in their side they, when they champion about win-win solution, we think that their cases is only circling on that idea. We think when they propose the problem of as the government side of the house, we are going to be doing suicidal. We are going to be very what is that? We are they keep blaming us and in saying that we are so evil in sacrificing human. We say we already respond to this case that by saying that it is okay because we already argue how humans have already forced nature to suffer. So we think that at the end of the day, they and also they never explain how that environment sustainability will happen in their side at the end of the day. We think that the idea of environment sustainability will happen better in our side. We think that even if we are going to sacrifice human in more in our side, we think that at the end of the day we are going to still have backup mechanism that we already argued to you, that we are able to, we are actually have the backup mechanism, for example, like developing green technology, for example. So we think that we are also going to have survival mechanism in, for example, like wisely using nature resources based on our needs, ladies and gentlemen. And for example, and when that's how that it is going to be achieved, because we are going to minimize the exploitation, we are going to have better green technology, and also because we are not going to do more nature suffer too much for our greediness, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what that has been argued by the government side of the house. Even further, we already argue about how, for example, people will have less travel, for example, that's how we are going to have better mechanism in order to have better preservation of the nature. And also it is going to be better because of we are going to minimize the society demand to the minimum by reducing all environmental damaging. We think that the better preservation is also going to happen because of we are going to reduce consumerism, and we are going to have a better allocation of the budgeting that exists in that we are having in the status quo for better preservation in the environment. And we think when they explain about the idea about when they propose about economic sustainability, we think that without this we'll still be able to live anyway. Why? Because we'll just only living we are just going to live that luxury life that we are living in the status quo, right? That's what we think that we are going to lose. Only that we think that we are going to have still have what is that survival mechanism at the end of the day that we already explained to you. However, they only rely on heavily rely on punishment and remediation. We think that it is going to be better working on our side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. So we think that at the end of the day, their solution is not going to be exclusive, because of when they heavily relying on punishment and remediation. We think that it's going to be better in our side of the house. So therefore, we believe that we already yeah. Thank you. Support the motion.
Thank you everyone for the great debate.